Alright, welcome to my video on awakening and ascension. I'm going to be talking about what those things are, what to expect, the understanding and meanings that I found in them, things you can go through, and uh, kind of, trying to navigate it, helping each other out how we can here. Um, we all can gain something from every source of information. Um, I found that it was amazing to me, the help that I got from videos that I started watching. And obviously, you need to discern for yourself all the time and allow things to prove themselves to you, uh, because that's how you will really know and believe and understand. um, but you always want to keep an open mind, and even when a topic is brought to you and it seems far-fetched to you. Something that I found that really, really helped me throughout the whole thing was to just still give a listen, um, even if they start to go way left field, because people's perspectives are different. The things that they see and understand are different. They're at different levels of their awakening and ascension process. Some of these people aren't even in it, and they're just giving their perspective and what they see out here. So you always got to discern for yourself, but you, even when it seems wrong, you never know the piece that you get that makes a connection to you for something else. You'll find that that happens a lot, and part of this is doing just that, is letting go of what you think all the time. Because in our other lower consciousness, our typical normal way of thinking to us, that's how we get everything twisted and limit everything and really deprive ourselves of our true power, uh, of creating, you know, our reality, our circumstances, our life, our feelings, our happiness, our peace, So part of that is just letting go of what you think all the time, and being able to listen to these other point of views and other people, because the people are the connections too. We're all connected to each other, and we all have something to offer each other, even if it's hard to see it. Um, so the awakening is something that comes to you eventually. It is supposed to come to all of us in our time that we're ready for it. Um, and it can be triggered in multiple ways, from listening to different people's stories, and you can tell if they've gone through this, and I believe them. People say that it hits them in a lot of different ways. Some people have a near-death experience. Some people have something really, really bad happen to them that causes something could like catastrophic to them. Changes something in them. Other people might just see something, see the symbols or something, and be ready for it, and it awakens them. These alignments of the universe. If you watched my video talking about how I came to my awakening, I talked about how the solar eclipse seemed to light something up in me, and I can't deny that at all. So there's lots of different ways that you can come to it, and there might be ways that like speed it up or make the process go a little faster or better, but there's no way of knowing that really. It's different for everybody, and their understanding, your openness to it, the amount of time and energy you give to it. How long do these things take to prove themselves to you, so that you have more belief in them and more thought into them, which it does the trichotomy. It feeds your feelings and then your actions, and that creates your reality. So it's all a process, and it takes time, because we're not used to this, even though throughout our life we've recognized some aspects here and there, and had an epiphany about this, or We've heard old sayings that prove themselves to us and we know to be true, but they all leave our mind all the time. So this is the process of really finally opening your eyes and being able to see what's always been right in front of us. Um, so that, you can use it to create your reality however you want it to be. Uh, and when it comes to you, I guess just like anybody else, you'll know it. It's hard to fight it. It's hard to ignore it. It drives you to want to learn more. Like, you feel this huge thirst of knowledge. Like you tend to want to be alone. You tend to want to kind of just shove your face in some books, or if you can find videos that you can connect to and make sense of, uh, and etc. Like, this is one of the things that makes this like one of the greatest times for an awakening to come to you. And I say that because, once you start learning about the history, like the past, and things like people, even now that people do to learn this knowledge and understand it, it's taken them a lifetime, multiple lifetimes we go through. And, now there's something that's different. The energy's changed. There's a big thing, and this is one part of watching like older videos that they won't really get you twisted. The knowledge is all there and true, and it's still is in effect. It's valid, but there has been a new change in the energy since 2012. And this was all what the Mayan calendar was all about and everything. It never was this big thing that got taught to us to fear that it was going to be the destruction or the end of the world or all this. It was marking a change, like an end of the cycle, and they knew that at that point something new was going to come, and basically we would be different. It's like an evolution point for us. And so, to my understanding, awakenings are happening more than ever. Not ever in the history of the planet, but ever in our perception of history since the last time everyone was pretty much wiped out. So we are in this new cycle with a new energy. So some of this stuff, it's all still valid from the old teachings, but there's some new ways to work with it. And there's actually like you come to find out there's steps that you can even, like, I don't want to say skip, but you can kind of fast track more through, because the energy here now is allowing more than it used to. And so you'll have to make that make sense to you and understand it and work with it. I'm still working on it myself, and that's like the difference between your awakening process and your ascension process, or has been called in the past and in different communities, enlightenment. You'll find all these different terms that come from different cultures and different time frames and different people, that they're all talking about the same things. It's all the same stuff. So people just have different words for it because they come from different places and different time frames. But they're talking about the same stuff. And so this is the difference between your awakening process and your ascension process. Is the awakening process is really, it's opening your eyes. It's waking up from this big sleep that we've been in since childhood. I would say since birth, but you're pretty innocent at a young child, and I'm not so sure that all that is right in you. I think that the outside influence kind of develop you as you're going. So the difference is just that it's the awakening is really like waking up for the first time. You are really starting to see what reality actually is, or at least another level of it. Um, so the truth about things and how they really work, and how we work and how we interact with everything and how everything forms, and like really the truth about everything, it starts to be revealed to you. And it's, you have to also want to, but it compels you to follow it, to chase down that knowledge, to have this thirst for this now, because it continues to answer these questions that you've always asked yourself. Why is this like this? Why is religion like that? How can this actually be like this? How can people take advantage of everybody else and be allowed to do that? How can government be allowed to be run the way it is? How can, like, you'll be asking yourself all these questions throughout your life to things that don't make sense to you, and your awakening process will start to answer all of those questions and more questions that you never even thought to ask yourself or really contemplate, or even if you had, you couldn't see it and you had no understanding, because you were looking at it from your lower consciousness, your lower awareness that you've been living in for all this time. So you're so used to it. It's really, really hard to break out, and it takes something like this. And so when it comes to you, it's so amazing that, like, it's not really like work. Like, remember when you were in school and you didn't really like to go, you didn't want to? This is so totally different. This is like every day you wake up, you can't wait to jump in the shower and throw your clothes on and brush your teeth to get some food and run out the door, because school is calling you and you don't really want to do anything but this, because nothing else matters as much, at least not in this moment. And that's what you really start to find out too, is attaching yourself to the moment, because this moment right now in time is really all that's real. It's really all that matters. And then that's when you start to get to how time isn't this linear thing that we perceive it as. But that's like much down the road. That's not like something that you really are gonna easily accept and understand and believe in the beginning, that's for sure. So we won't talk about that. But so you go through this awakening process, which is just teaching you everything you ever wished you could have known, and it'll make you feel all kinds of different ways. Mostly it's an overwhelmingly good feeling, happy feeling, proud, loving, like understanding, but then there's moments where you gain this new knowledge that you never had before, and it can upset you, because you can look back at your past and think, well, man, it's just, if only I had knew this, and only I had knew that, and then it would have been easier for me to do this and do that, and etc. And where would I be now? And how could you possibly hide this from people? All those thoughts, like, they will come to you because you've been struggling for so long in this dimension, really. And so, like, the key is, like I touched on my last video, but just in case you didn't watch it, is to, if it's ever making you feel like that, is to walk away from the moment, go do something else, anything. Lots of things we could always be doing, and just don't think about it for a while, because two things will happen. One is just that you will be working backwards instead of forwards if you are allowing it to negatively affect you, if you're allowing it to upset you, if you are allowing it to throw off your balance in any type of way that is the opposite of what you want. So to just drop it for the moment and walk away is one of the best things you can do, because then it's not giving you negative thoughts that you'll feed into negative emotions, that'll feed into actions you'll be feeding the wrong thing. You'll be doing the opposite of what you're learning. So you want to just walk away from it. And then also, what you'll come to find out too is that when you walk away from a problem that's bothering you at the moment, like, it's only bothering you at the moment because you don't fully understand it. You're getting this truth about it, but you're not getting the understanding of it yet. And usually all that's going to take, if you're going through this process, is till tomorrow. You will, and sometimes it takes longer, but you'll often find that tomorrow the answer comes to you in many different ways. And the reason for that is because when we pose a question or a problem or something to our mind, to our consciousness, and we can't answer it right now, and then we go away from it, our subconscious mind still continues to work on the problem. It still continues to try to solve it, to try to find an answer, to try and make it make sense, because that's like its job. That's part of what it does to help you really live. Um, and it also, your subconscious has an easier time accessing this akashic record that we'll talk about at another time. Your subconscious, it knows that it's been around. It hasn't really forgotten like like your conscious mind has forgotten. It knows about these things, and it knows what you've learned in a past life. It knows what you've learned earlier in life but not thought about lately, or forgotten, or dismissed. It knows all these things, and so it will connect to it. It'll find the answer, and then it'll bring it to you in some form or fashion, whether it's another person that you meet and talk to, or you already knew them, or some video pops up in your recommended box and it just has to do with exactly the thing you were contemplating and couldn't figure out yesterday. Or you'll run into a book, or they've some strange commercial or something on TV, like pops, like it'll happen like that. And to somebody who's not waking up and not paying attention, they will think that those things are just a coincidence in their life, because they happen regardless of if you're waking up or not. And so they will look at these things and pay them no mind. They won't think anything of it, or if they do even pay attention and say, wow, that's a coincidence, that's exactly what they'll say, and that's how their mind will dismiss it. And so it won't use it, and it won't follow it. It won't say, this is the universe speaking to me, this is the universe responding to what I was putting out. Because what you'll find is really that's true. You'll learn about these different parts of the brain, like your pineal gland and your frontal lobe, and other things. You'll come to learn and find out all these things. That we at our core are just energy, and it's all distributed, like kind of like these waves, like we picture radio waves and stuff, and like how we get your TV vision from this point at the studio to your TV at home. Like these, we have these receivers right here. Everything is right here in us, and it's just all about accessing it and then understanding it so that you can use it correctly. Just something to think about, that'll have to be a whole nother video, is all, like literally, that I've learned about all of the greatest people that we revere throughout the history of time have gone through this, and they have connected to this realm and connected to source to bring about things that normally they couldn't possibly have done. And so I'm obviously talking about people like Einstein and Tesla and Leonardo da Vinci, and there's so many. It's just and I never knew how many there were until I started looking into all this. And you find there's these incredible geniuses over the course of time in all these different aspects. They all grabbed something and then really put it to something. Now sometimes they get blocked too, like Tesla got shut down because the consciousness at that time wouldn't allow what he was trying to bring. And that's part of the struggle of the community consciousness, the consciousness of all of us who are living at the moment, because that affects things too. But those things that are affected by community consciousness, yeah, they're important and they're big things, and they depend